Well, greetings. I have with me today Robert Nakagawa, the Scout Executive for the Delmarva Council of the Boy Scouts of America. Robert, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Craig, for having me. And thank you for accepting our wonderful honor for being our distinguished citizen for the Midshore event that we have coming up.
Well, you're very kind to do that. But what I wanted to do is kind of take the opportunity to share with people in the community more about scouting today. And first of all, talk to us a little bit about the Delmarva Council. What's the sort of geographic reach, and how many scouts do you have out there today?
So we ended about 4,600 scouts last year. So we grew by 10% last year. We're right now in the middle of our recruitment campaign. So we're hoping we can grow by another 10%. So it's really exciting. The geography of our council, it spans all the way from Cecil County, Maryland, in north, as well as Wilmington, all the way to the tip of the peninsula, the Delmarva Peninsula with the Virginia, all the way down to the bridge, I guess, the tunnel.
That's pretty good size. And scouting today involves both young men and young women. Am I correct?
You are 100% correct. It is a very exciting time. I've been working for the Boy Scouts now for 20 something years. And in my career, I never thought that the young women would be able to participate in scouting. And I say that because just going to national meetings, hearing the sentiment from volunteers and whatnot, and there was a cultural shift. And now we serve young women. And I couldn't be more excited because I have 3 daughters. I have 1 son, 3 daughters, and we get to do scouting as a family. And I think that's a unique thing for us as an organization as far as a competitive advantage. You know, our families are so busy today with athletics, school, clubs, church, whatever it is, piano lessons. There's so many activities for kids to do today, and parents, my wife included, was driving my children up and down the peninsula to different activities. But scouting now is one opportunity that you get to do as a family in one place for all your children. So yes, our boys troops and our girls troops are single gender. So yes, girls get to participate in the Boy Scouts of America program, but it is an all girls troop, and the boys currently are an all boys troop. And we have some of them that are linked because we have numbers of siblings in both, where parents are leaders in both units. And so the units might camp at the same location, but they could have very different program at the same location because the girls plan their own program and the boys plan their own program. So it really meets the unique needs of each group. And there's a lot of differences between the young men and the young women and the camping and the activities that they're choosing to do.
I've heard you talk about the differences in terms of, I guess I'd say, assuming leadership, and actually the girls excel at that, I gather.
They do. And I think it goes back. My wife and I were venture crew leaders back in Hawaii when it was, venturing, exploring. Some of our programs were co-ed for a number of years. And that is a real co-ed program where young men and young women get to participate together. And it's my personal observation. We had about 20 kids in that program. And without fail, for the few years that we were there running that program with these youth and letting them choose the program, even to the point where they wanted to go to Thailand and Cambodia. So we ended up taking a trip to Thailand and Cambodia. But they planned everything. We facilitated, we helped them, but they planned it all. And it was really the girls that took on all the leadership roles. The boys were happy, and I'm guilty as well. I'm lazy as I'm allowed to be, if you will. And the girls were a lot more assertive. They took on the leadership roles of president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, program chairs. And the boys, unfortunately, they kind of went along. They enjoyed all the activities, but they were more the grip or the handles, and they did all the manual labor stuff. And we know that leadership is a practice skill. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And if we continue to do it that way, the girls were getting all the practice. The boys, they had some practice, but not the same kind of practice.
Interesting. When families, and especially the young people today, come to you and to your colleagues and explore the idea of being involved, you're quite right. There are so many competing activities. What do you think draws them to scouting? Is it the outdoor activities? Is it the leadership training? Is it the camaraderie? A combination of all those, probably. But what really kind of drives them to embrace scouting today?
It's a combination of all those. And I think, like anything else, it's an evolution. Like when people first join, it's the outdoors, it's the camping, it's that allure of taking their kids outside. And that's what we've seen through the pandemic is we've actually had growth because there's been a resurgence for people to get outside and do outdoor activities. And we've been doing that for a while now. So I believe it's still the outdoors. I think we have a portable climbing tower that we take now to community events and recruitment events. And that's what draws people to us. It's the outdoor activities, it's the rock climbing, it's the hiking, the camping, all the outdoor types of things that scouts get to do. And while that's what we do, that's not what we're about. I mean, it's very Norman Rockwell-esque, right? Norman Rockwell did, he commissioned by the Boy Scouts, did wonderful paintings for us. And our branding, our imaging, as far as first aid, serving the community, life-saving, all these kinds of things that Scouts are known for, those are great, as well as the camping and the leadership. But our mission isn't to teach kids to camp. Our mission is to instill the values of the Scout Oath and Law so that these youth make ethical choices over their lifetime, that they give back to the community, that they're active members of the community, they vote, they do their thing. And we don't teach politics, mind you, we teach civics. We teach the kids to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent. And it's the thing, those are the values that we're trying to instill in these youth. And we keep them engaged because of the outdoor activities that, when done right, it's activities that they want to do. So even for myself, because I've got my 4 children, all of them in our scout troops here and they have boys troop and a girls troop, but they're the ones that dictate what activities we're doing. The leaders get together, we commit to certain weekends every month, and then we basically hand the scouts a template, say, okay, these are the weekends that as parents and leaders, we can commit to supporting you guys on what you want to do. And they fill out the activities based on the time of year, the weather, and what activities they want to do. And we facilitate that, and we help them with their rank advancements and things like that. But a lot of that is really how do we cultivate and foster an environment that it reinforces the values of the Scout Oath and Law. And we really are a village. We're a very diverse unit for my unit. And it's interesting because, I obviously work for the Boy Scouts and I have a good share of hobbies, but I don't know how to weld. I don't know how to do a lot of things.
Right.
And yet my children have been able to get the welding merit badge. They've learned how to weld, and I don't know how to weld. But it's that whole village concept that together our kids achieve more, almost a team, TEAM, together everyone achieve more. And really, that's what our kids get. And in today's environment where there's so much more single parent households, scouting can really help fill that void. Like I said, I have 4 children. I can't imagine doing this without my wife. But scouting almost adds an additional layer of parents because we share the same values of Scout Oath and Law. And I know from psychology and childhood development that when my children, and I've got 4 of them, 3 of them are teenagers right now. And as teenagers, they're going through adolescence, and we've all been there. But whatever mom and dad says, an adolescent will do the exact opposite.
Right.
Right? Unless somebody of influence tells them to do something that they respect, whether it's their sports coach or a scout leader or another auntie or uncle, they don't listen to mom and dad. But it's amazing when somebody else says exactly what mom and dad says. They'll come home, Mom, Dad, guess what Mr. Fuller told me? And you'll be like, that is what I've been trying to tell you this whole time. So scouting really does provide a village for us to parent together with the values of the Scout Oath and Law. And it gives them opportunities to do so many great things.
I have to say, I think it's so important today when you see the troubled youth who just seem isolated and not engaged. This is quite the opposite. And this whole notion of timeless values has been reinforced as I've reached out to people to come to this little event we're doing at the end of the month. I've found so many friends who I didn't even know had gone through the scouting program, became Eagle Scouts. It's really meant an enormous amount to them in their lives. You probably wish they'd talk about it more. Actually, so do I, because I think it reinforces the timelessness of the values that you are instilling in these young people.
I really do. And that's the challenge, and we all grew up doing scouting, and I worked on camp staff, but especially as teenagers, we've done studies. We found that non-scouts think what scouts do is cool, but being a scout is unfortunately perceived as not being cool. And my son's going through that right now. We're in the middle of our fundraising. He refuses to fundraise in our community, but he'll go way up north and fundraise somewhere else just because of fear of running into somebody he knows. The peer pressure is real. We've all been there, and that image that we all work through. And until you work at summer camp or somewhere else, do I see all my other competitive athletes from other schools? I was a wrestler and did volleyball and kayaking in high school. And it wasn't until serving on camp staff that I realized, hey, Craig, I didn't know you were a scout too, because it's not something, that comes up. And you don't see them unless you're at camp together on the rare occasion that happens at a summer camp.
I want to ask a couple questions. One sensitive, but really it goes to if people are listening to this and they're thinking maybe this would be right for my kids. What should they do next? But the sensitive part of that is also, and I'm looking forward, not backward, but I'm sure they say to you, will my child, be safe? What are you doing to ensure safety? So it's kind of two parts. What do I do if I'm interested in scouting, and how are you going to make sure my kid is safe?
So two-part. Part one, go to bascout.org.
Okay.
And you go to bascout.org, type in your zip code, and you can find units in your area. And then you shop around, go visit those units. It's just like going to a university or anything else. Visit each of the units in your neighborhood, because each one has a different culture. Each one has a different village, if you will, that has different skill sets and a different feel to it. Some units, scout troops, they like to go backpacking. Some do more aquatic activities. Some do more pull up in camp type camping. They're really very different. Even the Cub Scout packs, it's very different in the culture. So you want to find the one that suits you best. And as far as safety, scouting has been, it is safer now than it's ever been before. We have the most robust youth protection policies. Is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement. But I'll venture to say, with my kids and the sports that they're participating in, and even in church and other activities, like, I haven't seen another organization with more robust youth protection policies and training than the Boy Scouts of America. And I don't say that just because I'm in this shirt. We require all of our adult leaders that register to take youth protection training. There's background checks on each one of them as they get registered. And then even our youth, in the front of every scout handbook, one of the first things every youth is asked to do for their first rank advancement is to review with their parents how to keep them safe from cyberbullying to stranger danger type of thing. I mean, there's a pamphlet in every one of the scout handbooks at the very front that every scout is supposed to review with their parent on how to keep themselves safe. And the world of safety is so different today, with the online pressures, the cyberbullying, and even just the stuff that we grew up with back in school that's still present. So it's there. But I will also say that our scouts, as part of our barriers to abuse, if there's more than a 2-year age difference, they're not to share the same tent. There's never going to be a one-on-one situation where an adult is with a child. There's what we call a two-deep leadership, which is another one of our barriers to abuse. So at any given time, your child should never be one-on-one with an adult leader out of eyesight or earshot that can allow for any type of verbal or any kind of abuse.
Yeah.
So we have some pretty stringent barriers to abuse, and we all are responsible for holding each other accountable. And the youth are also responsible for holding themselves accountable, because they're also going through youth protection training as well that's appropriate to their age.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I certainly had a chance a few years ago. I had a good fortune to go to the Boy Scout Jamboree in West Virginia, and
Yes.
35,000 scouts with all of the adult leadership and everything else. It was a sight to behold. And I was so impressed with, the sheer joy they were having in their activities, and also the fact it was safe. It was a wonderful experience for that many people. And I've done a few events in my life. I was impressed by the organization and structure. Robert, we'll close, but I want to give you a chance to share anything that I might not have asked that you might want to share about scouting today.
Scouting today it's such a wonderful program, and I think what you hit the nail on the head. It's just timeless values. We've never left the values of the Scout Oath and Law. But workforce development is a major buzz topic right now, for a lot of people in the workforce. And scouting provides, while we don't necessarily call it workforce development so much, but we have the soft skills that every employer wants their employees to have, as far as being trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly. We pride ourselves in trying to do that for each of our youth. Are we perfect? Are the youth perfect? By no means. But I believe we can take a child from whatever baseline they're in, and with the values of the Scout Oath and Law, the parents, the adult leaders, and the program that we have, we take them up several levels with regards to those soft skills of being more friendly, trustworthy, helpful, and just good customer service, which we all need. And that's really important. And besides that, there's over 130 merit badges that these youth are exposed to that could potentially be careers. Like I shared, like welding for my children, which is amazing. I want to do it and I haven't had a chance to do it yet, you know.
Well, listen, thank you for all that you and your colleagues do. It's making a huge difference here on the Eastern Shore, but across the country. It's a real privilege to get a chance to visit with you and be associated with you. And I look forward to seeing you at the end of the month. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Craig.